Yes, my friends, the Houston Texans minicamp has come to an end, and one of the biggest stories to emerge from the week wasn't just who performed well on the field, but who generated the most optimism throughout the organization heading into the next phase of preparation. I also want to talk about David Montgomery. We need to discuss some key points and perspectives on how the Texans plan to use their best weapons to defeat the opponents they'll face in the upcoming season. Before we begin, make sure you've already hit the like button, but only do that if you've been a Texans fan for more than 15 years. If possible, write this: Go Texans! Let's go to the Super Bowl! Several players made a strong impression during minicamp, and based on everything that was discussed throughout the practices, a few names really stood out. But we'll get to that in a moment. I want to talk about one name that many people are putting all their faith in. Let's talk a little about veteran running back David Montgomery. During a recent discussion about Houston's outlook in the AFC South, Rich Eisen highlighted Montgomery as a quiet addition who could have a significant impact on the team this season. According to Eisen, Montgomery brings exactly what every championship contender looks for in its backfield: reliability, durability, and proven production. He even described him as a true professional at the position, a label that reflects the respect he has earned throughout the league. The Texans enter the season with growing expectations, and Montgomery's arrival adds another experienced weapon to the offense. With the receiving core likely healthy and the defense continuing to earn praise, Houston appears focused on strengthening its roster with dependable veterans who can make an immediate impact. Eisen specifically pointed to Montgomery as one of those under-the-radar additions who could help solidify the Texans' position in what he called a surprisingly strong AFC South division. While much of the attention remains focused on the quarterback and the defense, Montgomery's presence could become one of the biggest storylines of the season. If he delivers the consistency and leadership many expect, this signing could prove to be one of Houston's smartest moves of the year. So, Texans fans, what do you have to say about that? Now let's talk about the latest minicamp updates. One of the most exciting developments involved Tank Dell. Even though he did not fully participate in minicamp, simply seeing him back on the field represented a major step forward. He was out there wearing his helmet, taking part in some drills with the Texans' wide receiver group, and that alone generated excitement considering everything he has gone through over the past year. The significance of this moment becomes even greater when considering the difficult journey that brought him here. Dell missed the entire 2025 season after suffering a serious injury near the end of the 2024 season against Kansas City. The injury required multiple knee surgeries, turning what should have been a period of growth into a long rehabilitation process. Seeing him moving around the practice field again was a reminder of all the work that has gone into this comeback attempt. What makes this story particularly important is that the discussion surrounding Dell was not limited to his physical progress. Multiple teammates spoke about the impact he brings simply by being present. The conversation was not focused solely on statistics, catches, or explosive plays. Instead, players highlighted the energy and influence he provides whenever he is around the team. That kind of praise says a lot about how he is viewed inside the locker room. There is a difference between a player returning and a player truly lifting the spirit of a team. The comments coming out of minicamp suggested that Dell belongs in the second category. His presence generated optimism among teammates, and there was a clear feeling that his continued progress is a major positive sign for Houston moving forward. Perhaps the most encouraging detail is the belief that he is on track to be ready by the start of the regular season. While there is still work ahead, the fact that he is ramping up activity and continuing to progress creates confidence that his return could become one of the most important developments for the Texans entering the season. Another player who generated significant discussion throughout minicamp was quarterback CJ Stroud. There were interceptions during practice, but the broader takeaway was centered on how much improvement people around the team believe they are seeing. According to observations from those around the defense, Stroud and the offense appear to be operating at a much higher level compared to the previous offseason. That is a noteworthy point because expectations surrounding the offense are always high, and improvement is not something that gets handed out casually. When defensive players acknowledge growth on the other side of the ball, it carries weight. The feedback coming from minicamp suggested that communication within the offense has taken meaningful steps forward. Several specific areas were mentioned. Communication was described as better. Pre-snap movement appeared improved. Pre-snap motion looked sharper. Recognition before the snap seemed more advanced across the offense as a whole. These are details that often determine whether an offense operates efficiently or struggles to find rhythm. The fact that those elements were being highlighted during minicamp suggests the group is placing heavy emphasis on execution and organization. For a quarterback, those factors matter tremendously. Success is rarely determined by arm talent alone. The ability to operate within a system, communicate effectively, and ensure everyone is aligned before the snap can elevate an entire unit. The reports from minicamp indicate that these aspects of the offense are trending in a positive direction. There was also discussion regarding the offensive line. Improvement up front was identified as another positive development connected to Stroud's outlook. Any progress along the offensive line naturally benefits the quarterback, and the suggestion coming out of minicamp was that this area may be moving in the right direction as well. What stood out just as much was the support surrounding Stroud. The message coming from coaches and teammates was overwhelmingly positive. There appeared to be complete confidence in him throughout the organization. That collective support became one of the reasons he was viewed as a minicamp winner. When an entire building continues to rally behind its quarterback, it creates stability. It creates belief. And based on everything discussed during minicamp, there was no indication of hesitation. The confidence in Stroud appeared strong from every direction. While much of the attention naturally goes toward star players, another name quietly generated a substantial amount of praise during the minicamp period: Foster Moreau. His situation is particularly interesting because he enters Houston after spending the previous season with New Orleans, where injuries prevented him from fully establishing momentum. Now, however, the conversation has changed dramatically. Reports from minicamp repeatedly described Moreau as looking excellent throughout off-season practices. There was discussion that he could potentially position himself as the second tight end on the roster because of how well he has performed during these sessions. That possibility is significant because roster battles are often won during periods exactly like this. Players who consistently demonstrate reliability, preparation, and versatility can quickly climb depth charts. Moreau appears to be doing exactly that. Several traits were highlighted when discussing his performance. Leadership was one of them. Blocking ability was another. There was also praise for his hands and route running. Taken together, those comments paint the picture of a player making a strong impression in multiple areas rather than excelling in only one specific role. Leadership often becomes an underrated factor during off-season programs. Coaches want dependable players. Teammates want players they can trust. When leadership becomes part of the conversation surrounding a player, it usually means his impact extends beyond what happens between the lines during practice. The praise regarding his blocking is equally important. Tight ends are frequently asked to contribute in multiple ways, and earning recognition for physical play can help secure opportunities. Add in positive reviews regarding receiving skills, and it becomes easier to understand why Moreau generated so much attention during minicamp. The suggestion that he could become the number 2 tight end was not presented as a distant possibility. It was discussed as a realistic outcome based on what has been seen throughout the offseason. That alone tells you how strong his minicamp was perceived to be. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, another player who drew positive reviews was Jalen Smith. The young defensive back experienced a difficult setback after suffering a season-ending injury not long into his rookie campaign, limiting opportunities to show what he could do. Now, healthy and back on the field, Smith appears to be creating momentum again. Throughout the off-season program, reports consistently described him as looking very good. In fact, there was discussion suggesting he is positioned to become the third cornerback for Houston. Those are meaningful expectations considering the level of competition involved. One of the most notable comments came from Derek Stingley Jr., who reportedly stated that Smith looks significantly improved compared to where he was entering his rookie season. That kind of observation stands out because it comes from someone who sees the work happening up close. Improvement after an injury can never be taken for granted. Players often face physical and mental challenges during recovery. The fact that Smith is receiving praise for how he moves and how he looks on the field suggests that the recovery process has positioned him well heading into the next phase of preparation. There is also a broader implication for the defense. Having additional depth available in the secondary strengthens the unit as a whole. Last year, the injury limited what Smith could contribute. Now, the possibility exists that he can become an important piece moving forward. The final major winner discussed from minicamp was Henry To'oTo'o. According to the minicamp assessment, he has firmly established himself as the second-best linebacker on the team and is expected to be a starter. There had been discussion regarding competition at the position, but circumstances appear to have clarified the situation. With EJ. Speed unavailable due to injury, the path for To'oTo'o has become much clearer. What makes his situation particularly intriguing is the timing. He is entering a contract year, which naturally creates additional motivation. Players in those situations often seek to produce the best football of their careers, and there is an expectation that To'oTo'o will be highly motivated as he prepares for the season ahead. Reports indicated that he has looked good throughout the offseason and has been steadily preparing for the upcoming campaign. Opportunity, preparation, and motivation are now aligning at an important moment in his career. When you step back and look at the entire minicamp picture, several themes emerge. Tank Dell's return provided hope. CJ Stroud's development generated confidence. Foster Moreau's emergence created intrigue. Jalen Smith's progress strengthened optimism on defense. Henry To'oTo'o's positioning added another compelling storyline to watch. Together, these developments formed the foundation of what many viewed as the most positive takeaways from the Texans' minicamp period. And this is only part of the story. Because while several players clearly raised their stock during minicamp, there were also individuals and position groups that left minicamp facing tougher questions. Those developments could have important implications for roster battles and depth chart decisions moving forward. What do you think about these minicamp winners? Which player impressed you the most, and which storyline has you most excited heading toward training camp? Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and click on the video showing on your screen. For the latest Houston Texans news and updates as soon as they happen, this is where you'll find them first.